pulls them back into this culture. That's an amazing thing to think about. If you listen to like the music of an artist out of Ghana, one of my favorite artists is a guy by the name of Blitz the Ambassador. And he's a Ghanaian rapper. So he's a Ghanaian brother who's absorbed and uses this African American form and infuses it and informs it with all these African musical and cultural practices. So this idea that hip hop is not the, but a nexus for African diasporic culture is a really powerful thing, and I think it's one of the reasons why you see hip hop circulating around the globe. The second piece is just this critical listening piece. The book I'm working on right now is called Headphones, and it's just about critical listening. It's like what Bob is saying in terms of listening to Jay in a very critical way, but how I think that's one of the features of the culture, that we listen to the music and we try to learn from it and we talk about it. It creates discourse communities, it creates learning communities, and so I really want to like harness that more. And when we first talked about doing this panel, I thought about this relationship that Chris and I have, because we've been listening to music for a long time, and so there's a certain level of trust that comes along with that. So like, I'll give you an example. I've hated Drake for a long time, like forever. I hated Drake. But then like when Candy's like, listen, just listen to like Started from the Bottom, right? And then for a long, I never listened to it. And then Candy's like, okay, get in my car, I'm gonna play it for you, and just listen to it. And I'm literally a Drake hater, right? Like, because I'm like, anybody who's coming through Nickelodeon, I'm not really. But Candy made me sit in the car and play the song. I'm like, oh wow, okay, like I get it now, right? And so when Chris and I were in London, I was like, yo, there's this guy, his name is Kendrick Lamar, he's gonna be, Chris has been starting to listen to him a little bit. I was like, yo, he's performing in London. This is before people really knew who Kendrick Lamar was. And so we go to the show, I don't know how, we like snuck in, broke into, we didn't have tickets, I don't even know how we got in there, but somehow we got into the show. We got into the show, right? And it was packed, right? And it was a strange moment for both of us because this is a real diverse London audience. But everybody in that audience, they knew like every word to all of Kendrick Lamar's songs.
And this is before?
This is way before. This is before Good Kid, Mad City. Right. It's before like the U.S. had really, it was around Section 80. This is the time when Section 80 was
like
popular.
4 years ago now.
Yes. And so we like bonded on that, like, yo, you know, we got to keep listening to this guy. Obviously Good Kid, Mad City comes out, we all listen to it. And then like about a year and a half ago, Chris is like, yo, you gotta listen to this guy, Isaiah Rashad, who was in this camp. So I'm like, all right, you know, that's cool. But again, like people know, like I'm gonna be like, all right. Chris is like, no, we gotta sit down and listen to it. We gotta sit down and listen to it. And the thing that really struck me was the song choice that he chose, right? So like, people know that I listen to hip hop a lot, right? So they know I'm like probably a critical kind of listener. And so Chris had to decide, like, what's the one song from this album? The album is called Sylvia Demos by Isaiah Rashad. Incredible album, Chattanooga artist, incredible album. He had to pick one song to play, like the song that's gonna basically make me like listen to. The song he chose is a song called Heavenly Father. And it's a really incredible song. And there's a point in the song where Isaiah Rashad just breaks it down and just talks. He's still rhyming, but he's like talking to you. And he has this one line where he's like, you know, and Senator Bullock's gonna make fun of me because I'm about to quote a hip hop line. He has this one line where he's like, you know, I'm so misrepresented by niggas that claim Trill, their souls was never in it. It's dope, right? Like I'm misrepresented by people who claim to be so real, but their souls were never in it. And he repeats the line in the song. But I'm telling you, when I heard that, I was like, I'm gonna listen to everything this guy is saying. Right? Because in that one line, he captures so much of how we feel about hip hop, about misrepresentation and like, you know, people thinking that it's all about being too real or being too authentic when really it's about is your soul in it. That whole thing, but their souls never, that is such an African diasporic formulation, right? And so the critical listening communities are a big part of hip hop, man. And we have them, you know what I mean? You talk to my kids and ask, you know, they know who Kendrick Lamar is, they've been listening to it, and it's funny, look, my daughter's shaking her head already because I always talk about Kendrick Lamar. Because everybody always talks about the music we shouldn't be listening to, and that's good. I'm critical of the misogyny, the materialism, the violence. I write about that, I'm critical of that. But the real thing is, like, for young people especially, are you giving them any alternatives? Are you saying like, well, you should listen to this? And so one thing that's important to me about hip hop is the critical listening piece of it. And how we create community around that's real important.
Yeah, man, I piggyback that by saying
a lot of my work stems around the African connections in hip hop. And one of the things that happens, particularly with African art, is this whole communal discourse.
Yeah.
You know, there's no line, there's no dichotomy between the audience and the artist. And if you've ever seen African dancers, you can't sit, you know, with your back to a chair and watch African dancers. They're gonna come up to you and they're gonna pull you into the performance.
There was a lady last night at the Green Parrot that was doing that.
That would not have been African, brother. There are a couple of folk in the room
Who didn't get up?
well, no, had no choice but to get up.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where the white at. There he is. There were a few victims last night. A little more Eurocentric than what I'm talking about. But let me sidebar this and say, this man to my left, unbeknownst to him, with the exception of this moment now, has helped my work a whole lot. And I remember I met this guy, man, I guess he was at UP, and he was already doing some hip hop work at the time. I was working at a charter school in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and it was a charter school for at-risk kids, man. My kids were on long-term suspension or expulsion. I'm trying to teach them like Beowulf and senior English. It's not going well. If you've read Beowulf, God bless you. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how can I get these kids to access it? So I was just talking to James about this earlier. We were at